previous possession. Great feed inside. Walton the slam.
Obviously, anytime Wendell Moore Jr. has the ball, he's an option as well, too.
He's got it now out of the timeout. Passes off. Griffin hits it as the first half buzzer sounds.
Duke beats Wake Forest last night. Interesting to see your daily sports podcast news narrative takes gambling, general sports, tomfoolery. I'm your host, Nick. Coach Mike Krzyzewski is not healthy enough to go last night. Apparently, he had a non-COVID illness, which I doubt that. Wake Forest had a winning record, so on the road, he just didn't want to take the L in his last game. Plus, could we think of a douchier school than Wake Forest that does not impress with Mike Krzyzewski? He was going to get booed and annoyed by all the Wake kids. That's technically a basketball school, I suppose. But Duke right there hits the three before the end of the first half, giving them the 6-point lead instead of going to the half with a 3-point lead. They eventually hang on to win by a lot. I think they won by something like 15. 64-76. Yeah, that's 12. Look at my math. That's great. Today we're going to do a little bit of NFL playoff preview and just kind of reset general stuff as things start to happen with more coaching carousel BS and with the transfer portal BS. We are, we're going to start prioritizing that on this show. And then, of course, NBA and NHL stuff we're going to get ramped up as well. But we're going to start today, as I mentioned, with the National Football League and the playoffs, and some general playoff storylines and general playoff tomfoolery. So we're going to run down all the games right now. So just in case you can remember, I'm going to plant this in your brain because you can remember it later. Even though you could Google it, we're going to do it. So there are two games on Saturday. Raiders-Bengals, that's the first one. So the first NFL football game in the playoffs starts on Saturday. The last one will be on Monday. Are there two on Monday? There's one on Monday. So you got two on Saturday. That's three on Sunday and one on Monday. The two Saturday games are AFC games. Raiders, Bengals, Patriots, Bills. Okay? The Patriots-Bills is the one everyone's talking about. That's a primetime game. The Raiders-Bengals game, that's at 4:30 in the afternoon. That's when all the action starts. The Bengals are pretty big favorites, -5.5, despite the Raiders having a magical little romp into the playoffs. The first game on Sunday is incredibly important. That's the Eagles at the Bucs, and it's important because Tom Brady is trash when he plays after his bedtime. But this game is at 1 p.m. We'll talk about that a little later. Then it's Niners-Cowboys. So the Niners got the Cowboys. Just think of a game that would annoy all of America. And then it's Steelers-Chiefs in a game that will just be a Patrick Mahomes coming out party. And then it's Cardinals at Rams on Monday Night Football. So we've got two divisional games, which I find interesting and funny how it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. These divisional things, they really do just crack me up. I would take it like who's the favorite to win the Super Bowl? So it depends where you go, but for the most part, the Super Bowl favorite are the Bucs. Now it has flipped around a little bit, but the Chiefs are also considered incredibly favorite. The interesting thing is that the line keeps moving for the Titans. So before the game against the Texans, the Titans were plus 1,200 to win the Super Bowl. No, the Packers are the favorite. Excuse me, I keep forgetting about them. So the Chiefs and the Bucs are pretty close, and the Packers are the odds-on favorite right now. But the Tennessee Titans are really an interesting bet because before the game started on Sunday against the Houston Texans, they were down, and then they beat the Texans, so they get the number 1 seed. And now the odds for them to win the Super Bowl go way up. So in order, the Steelers are the least likely, according to this sports book. So the Pennsylvania teams are the ones they're just here to have a good time. The Titans are plus 850. They're behind the Bills, the Bucs, the Chiefs, and the Packers, which is interesting because the Titans did all of this with a quarterback and a wide receiver. Their best player is coming back soon, like really soon. So I find that interesting. I think the Chiefs are incredibly overrated. I wish that you could bet on something not to happen. You know what I mean? Like I wish I could bet on the Chiefs not winning the Super Bowl. That's what I would bet on. Other interesting bets here for Super Bowl odds. You got to get this in pretty quick because you're going to forget on Friday. Cowboys are plus 1,200. I think that is the best bet, and I also think they're going to win the Super Bowl. They could get hot at the right time. They've got what it takes, which in my experience, what it takes is Either a very good defensive front or defensive backfield. You don't have to have both. You just got to have one. You got to have an elite quarterback that can make the plays or one that won't screw up. Dak can totally be that guy. And you have to have an elite offensive line, and they got it still. It's not the same as it used to be a couple of years ago, but still have multiple Pro Bowlers and elite Hall of Fame talent on the offensive line. I like the Cowboys. The other good bet along these same lines are the Bengals. The Bengals can get hot. Joe Burrow is a different animal when something's on the line. He really is the most competitive, clutch dude I've ever seen play football. He's like Tom Brady-ish. He really is. Like when there's something to play for, he doesn't get flapped. He understands that the game is 60 minutes long. He trusts his teammates. He makes decisions. He takes appropriate risks. Like that dude just has a feel not for playing quarterback, but for playing football to win a game. He really is. He's remarkable. The teams that have fallen off the radar, the Cardinals and the Patriots were darlings in the middle of the season. They've fallen off the radar, but the Cardinals are getting J.J. Watt back allegedly. He did face the media. We're going to find out what his status is going to be. And then the Niners, everybody loved them at preseason. They were a really fun little dark horse. Now they are toward the bottom of the odds to win the Super Bowl. So I'll run down the teams again who's in. Packers, Chiefs, Bucks, Bills, Titans, Rams, Cowboys, Bengals, Cardinals, Patriots, Niners, Raiders, Eagles, Steelers. I think the fun part of the playoffs for me is when the weird upsets happen. I think the cream is going to rise to the top. You look at the teams that have good offensive lines, good quarterbacks, and famous defensive players. The Bills have all of that. Their best defensive players hurt for the year. I think you can scratch them off. The Bucks, their defensive players are super elite. They've got a good quarterback and a good offensive line. Check. The Chiefs do not have an elite defensive backfield, elite defensive line, or playmakers on the outside. They do have a B+-ish offensive line, and they have Patrick Mahomes. So they are out. Bucks and Chiefs are out for me. Bucks are in. Bills are out. Chiefs are out. Titans are in. They don't have the same elite offensive line, but they also could get Derrick Henry back, which is good. The Titans, they are in. Jeffrey Simmons, that defensive line is good enough. They've got the quarterbacks. Rams, they are in. Elite defensive line, or elite Hall of Famers on defense, like the best defensive player I've ever seen, probably anybody's ever seen. The only argument is Lawrence Taylor over Aaron Donald. So the Rams, check. Matthew Stafford, check. Not as fun, but they could, and it wouldn't be that weird. He's not as good. Their offensive line can be elite. They used to be elite. They're old. The Cowboys, same thing. Check, check. Bengals. I like them as a bet. I don't like them to win the Super Bowl. Their offensive line leaks. Cardinals, same thing. Great bet, bad pick. You know what I mean? Great bet, bad pick. All right, let's move along to some other stuff. We'll get into some more odds for the Super Bowl as we head down the pike. It appears that Novak Djokovic is going to play in the Australian Open. Apparently, banning him for not being vaccinated is legal, but it feels like Australia singled him out. And so he won his court case in Australia. In my opinion of this situation is that it is an Australian problem. If you vote and pay taxes in Australia, then perhaps you can comment. If not, perhaps it's none of your effing business. It does annoy me because then it makes it feel like the people of Australia just did this for publicity, and that kind of stuff really does piss me off. I don't enjoy that. But let's go to Kyrie Irving, who apparently he's not vaccinated. And he also believed, but then said he was joking. He said he was a flat earther. He said believed the earth was flat, but then everyone got mad at him and then he said he was joking. I don't think he was joking. He's unvaccinated, and he could be available for games for the Brooklyn Nets if the Nets pay a fine. Someone explain that to me. He can either play or he can't. If he can't play because of COVID protocols, then he can't play because of COVID protocols. The NBA is going to tax Kyrie Irving and the Nets? What? That's, what the hell is that? I don't even know what that is. How can you not be following COVID protocol and then they're like, oh, well, actually, if you give us money, we're straight. Either stand up to him or don't. If you let him in, let him in. It really doesn't matter all that much. Like, just have a backbone. Just have a backbone. Okay? Make a choice, and then do that choice. Is that a lot to ask for? Perhaps, I suppose. I mean, it could be a lot to ask for. Let's go to the court system now. John Elway, we mentioned yesterday, trying to buy the Denver Broncos with a ownership group. So I guess the way that it's going right now. So there was a ruling in the court. We could get into this. It's kind of fun. The Denver Broncos, there's a Denver County District Judge This judge ruled for the Broncos organization and issued an order that said that this claim from a Canadian holding company is invalid. The claim said that the NFL franchise's rights that this Canadian company said that they had the first rights of refusal to buy the Broncos. So I don't know who that is or who Pat Bowlen was tied up in, whether they think that could be the case. That was kind of a desperate heave to the end zone. Well, Denver says, the Broncos say that no, you can't own us, which is weird because if they were involved in ownership, so it's the ownership group suing the team that it owns, sort of. Regardless, this now opens the door for John Elway and Peyton Manning. So this is going to happen. Yesterday we were waiting on the possibility like they're going to issue bids. These guys are going to issue bids. It's happening now. I think that, and this is important because we're going to get into the offseason where people are going to start debating which jobs are more attractive than others, which is dumb. And the best incorrect takes are not draft takes. Some people think they're draft takes. They're not draft takes. They're coach takes. The coach takes are great. If you want to go unearth some Nick Sirianni and Dan Campbell takes and then compare those takes to like Urban Meyer takes, that'll be a fun day for you. Clearly, Sirianni is in the playoffs and Dan Campbell is everyone's favorite. So those takes are going to be great. But this is important. This Denver Broncos thing is important because right now the Broncos job seems kind of weird. You want to take a job, everybody says ownership, also quarterback, because if you have a good quarterback, you're just going to appear more successful and get to coach for longer. Surrounding cast, what the situation is. Denver right now, because it doesn't have an owner, there's no real structure. And John Elway just kind of does what he wants. And people are mad that they're not winning, but the billionaires are way more concerned with who's going to make the billions of dollars, obviously. So they kind of get way more leeway than perhaps they should have, which makes it weird that they fired Vic Fangio. It's like, I mean, you didn't make the playoffs, but like this organization, nobody knows what the hell is going to happen. If Peyton Manning is involved in the ownership group, the Denver Broncos will become the most desirable location. I don't know anything that Peyton Manning isn't good at. I suspect there are some things, but if he wants to be involved in ownership, that franchise is going to be worth a lot of money. He is still living in Denver. I think his kids are at school or something there. Like he makes his home in Denver for the most part, and then of course in the South as well. But he lives in Denver. If he is involved with the Broncos, I don't care about Trevor Lawrence, and I don't care whether these other jobs are opening. If Peyton Manning is involved with the Broncos, that's where you'd want to coach, whether you're a head coach or an assistant coach. So it's going to be an attractive place to play football or to be part of the organization. They're going to get the cream of the crop for a little while when recruiting happens. That is not the case with John Elway. It just isn't, even though it would be great. The irony here is that John Elway and Peyton Manning are in different ownership groups, which means that Peyton doesn't want to be involved on the eye-to-eye level with John Elway. It's not going to answer to John Elway, which fair enough. I think Peyton sees himself as quite a bit more intelligent than just about everybody, so that that's par for the course for Peyton Manning. Speaking of ownership groups, Shaq, he owned a huge stake in the Sacramento Kings, and he sold it. He sold out. He announced what the hell is today? Thursday. He announced yesterday he sold his interest. I don't believe he disclosed how much money it was worth, but he's moving and he's moving towards a digital investment portfolio, iGaming and e-gaming and all of this kind of stuff. That's what he wants to get involved with. But he got in 2011, and I don't know how much money that's worth, but it's got to be worth a lot. The NBA just started to explode in like the 5th, 6th years of LeBron James, so good for him. It's nothing but love over here. Let's go back to the NFL. We'll talk about what's going on with the New York Giants. We'll continue to make fun of these organizations that don't know what they're doing. I need my spectacles for this. Let's read some quotes. This is from Pat Leonard, who is a New York Giants beat reporter for some organization called NYDN. Quote, John Mara, the owner of the Giants, I haven't given fans any reason to believe. I'm going to give it time to turn around. He then blamed the media for a creative narrative that his family has more football influence than it should as part of the problem. So the media are saying the Maras are too involved in football decisions, and he said, that's the media narrative. We're not too involved in football decisions. And remember, this is the guy, John Mara is the guy who publicly said that we don't want that taunting stuff, but he doesn't have any football influence on the Giants. The Giants, by the way, are statistically the worst franchise in football for the last 5 years, which is crazy. Remember when they beat the people in the Super Bowl? That was 11 years ago. So, 11 years ago. They have not had a winning record for a single week in an NFL season for 5 years. This year, they were outscored in the final 2 minutes of the first half, 76-0. In the final 2 minutes, when you're trying to get a field goal, you're trying to flip momentum, you get the ball back after half, you prevent them from getting the ball. Not only did they not prevent anybody from scoring, but they didn't score a single point. That means when they had the ball, they were like, I'm too scared of this. Let's just go to halftime. Maybe we can't lose the half. This is all coming out, of course, after the Giants kowtowed to media pressure to finally fire Joe Judge's ass. And they did, which makes sense because apparently Joe Judge in meetings on Monday, it was reported that Joe Judge wants to have a hand in picking the new GM, which, like, what, bro? You want to help hire the new GM and then think you have power over him? These Patriots guys are crazy. Like, I don't understand where they think they get off. And I think they go to these organizations. Patricia and Bill O'Brien was like that, which, by the way, a TikTok just surfaced of Bill O'Brien's final game in Houston when he was just cussing at people. Man, it is violent and fun. He is just yelling at a fan. Just great. Great stuff from like a CCTV thing of Bill O'Brien. But these Patriots guys, they go places and they think they can turn it around and they just can't. The balls to look John Mara in the face and say, I should have a hand in picking the GM. What? That's no. Like, there are like 5 or 6 coaches who can do that. You are not one of them. And those coaches they're basically the GM. They just can't do it because there are not enough hours in the day. Think of like Bill Belichick and Andy Reid, and Sean Payton, Kyle Shanahan, sort of. I like it, though. When blue blood organizations are trash, it is really enjoyable because there is a dark part of sports where you're rooting against things just to see how bad they can get. Notre Dame and Michigan fans will be aware of this. Just like, see, how shitty can they get? What is rock bottom for this thing that was once great? It does get sad after a while. Like, I think we all agree that we're sad about Nebraska now. It is fun. It was fun for a while, but we're sad now. So I think the Giants turning it around would be cool. But let's just see. They're pros, though. It's different when they're pros. Right? I mean, am I mean for not caring? Okay, we'll get to we're going to do best bets and things over the weekend. I think gambling, I'm a much better gambler in the playoffs because there are fewer games and I get less distracted. We'll just run down the odds right now so you can understand, and I'm going to tell you my gut feeling. So the first bet that I love is the total in Eagles-Bucks. The Eagles have been a run-heavy team. The Bucks can run the ball down your throat. They have a lot of really good players. There are going to be, like, I think 10 to 12 guarantee Hall of Famers in this game. This is an all-star game. It's going to be incredible. The Eagles, however, are not as good as the Bucks. That being said, they do score. Even though they run, they score. And the Bucks, even though they run, they score. They have Tom Brady. Jalen Hurts can make plays. There are playmakers all over the field. It's an incredible group. Antonio Brown not being in for the Bucks does impact this, but the total in this game is 46 points, 23-23. But the line is Bucks -9. So, God damn it, this is going to be a big one. So 23 minus 4.5 is 19. So we're going 19-28 is about what they're saying it's going to be, 17-28, somewhere in there. That's what they're 17-28, no, 19-28, 17-26. That's 17-26 is that area is where they're thinking the game's going to go. I think it's going to go way over. That's an easy over. I don't think you're going to sweat that at all. The other big over is Patriots at Bills. This over-under is at 44, 22-22, right? Think about that, 2 or 3 touchdowns per team. Bills are favored by 4 points. The interesting thing about this is that it's ironic because you don't want to go to Buffalo for a playoff game, but the team that's going to Buffalo is the Patriots. So, yeah, they don't really care about that. The team that you want, if you're the Bills, is a team that is not good at outside, say, the Raiders would be the team that you would want to have outside. Or, is that the only warm weather team in the playoffs? Well, there's a fun fact. For the AFC, that's the only warm weather team. In the NFC, there are a few. But 22 is too low. Those are rat numbers. There are other times, like Steelers Chiefs, the over-under is 46.5. Love that. That seems exactly where it should be to me. But the over in Patriots, Bills, and Eagles, Bucks is where I'm going to go. We'll do best bets coming up later in the weekend. Wildcard weekend is always the best one, especially it's going to be much better now with 7 teams and one thing and like all of these. Nobody's good. This is going to be great. It's going to be the best wildcard weekend of all time. Like, rate, review, subscribe. We'll do a Football Friday. We're going to focus on best bets. And we haven't had a controversial Wednesday in a while, so maybe we'll find a controversy out there that we can talk about. I'm sure there will be one to discuss. I would appreciate traction on YouTube. Make all of your friends subscribe. If I get 80 more Spotify subscribers, I will keep doing this indefinitely for the rest of my life. Let's get to 80 more Spotify subscribers. Oh, yeah, and you can rate and review on Spotify now. Do that. Please do that. Okay, thanks. Bye.